And I believe we are live. I'm certainly hoping that I'm getting through to you. And please let me know in the comments if you're unable to hear me. And otherwise, it's so good to see so many of you. And thanks to those of you who have donated and for sharing, subbing, liking, all that good stuff. I hope you are ready to spend a night with the Archangel Gabriel, and I'm looking forward to it myself. So let's bring him through and let us see what he has to tell us this evening. Hope you enjoy, guys. Yes, 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 yes. A giant, yes, it is that I bring to you, humankind. Know that the heavens, we accept everything that goes on down here, and we admire you greatly for the things you are unfolding. Our support is undying, unyielding, and eternal. Our love for you is great, and in every moment and in every breath you take, you are upheld by the forces of the heavens. I have brought many tidings of change and good news to humankind, and this evening I look forward to doing the same. Our message is the perennial message. It is the eternal message of fear not. There is nothing to fear from anything. Know that the differences you are experiencing is a part of a wider matrix, and it is foretold, it was laid out this way, that you would progress through challenges into eternity. Thank you for sharing your insights and wisdom with us. We too hold your values and your insights dear. Therefore, be blessed, sweet ones. Yes, and we'll take a question here. Kevin, great. Control, it has been a main theme for me, and I feel like I'm making progress on releasing it, which is exciting to me, although I am aware that things like this will be integrated gradually and in stages. And I think there's a second part. There must be, was placed in between. Oh, Kevin, could you type your question again? Because it seems like the second part didn't get there. So I'll revert back to that one because I can't see the actual question. But bring it forward and he'll answer. Yes. Someone asks here for subliminal audios, what advice do you have to receive full results, or what method works the best? Yes, dear questioner, who has made their name out of a lot of letters, we would advise you to buy a vowel. We are, of course, joking around, but our intent is clear. It is to find a type of open or spacious vibration within you and what you resonate with. We sense you would do well to take in audio that is tuned approximately to the frequency of 457 hertz. You may find that there is a range around this, give or take 30 on both sides, but that is the type of subliminal audio that would do you well, exposing yourself to these long massages of audio code, opening yourself to the vibration of what is seeking you out. And it is an openness that is seeking you out. And know that you cannot steer yourself wrong in this, even should you experiment with vibrations that are not quite as in tune to your own alignment. Then you will also have this experience of being of, we could almost call it repulsion, which would be helpful because it also teaches you what you don't want. But that would be helpful. We also sense that listening to theta brainwaves or patterns that induce, audio patterns that induce the activity of theta brainwaves would be helpful to you. And we bless you very much in this process. Know that you are supported. Yes, excellent. Here comes the second part of the question. Thanks, Kevin. Greetings, Gabriel, and thank you for coming. Could you start with a general reading of my energy and a reflection upon how you see that I'm doing? Also, I would like your perspective on letting go of control. It has been a main theme for me, and I feel I'm making progress on releasing it, which is exciting to me. Although I am aware that things like this will be integrated gradually in stages. Thank you for that question. Yes. It is a good place to focus when you want to relinquish control on that band that stretches between your shoulders. Know that we angels are able to fly because we relinquish our bonds to anything but source, and therefore we sprout wings. This is the image we would like to give you. It is a type of tightness that is centered around here. And it is not that you are necessarily doing poorly in your energy. It is more that you feel an attachment to certain things that, well, while they might seem to set you free, actually bring you further into, well, this image or idea of control, that is to say, latching onto something and then being at odds with it. That is to say, when you grip something too hard, you become immersed in its centripetal spiral, and you begin to move into a space where things might seem to go downward. Know that, of course, you are always progressing, but it is the idea we are bringing to you that when you hold on too tightly, there is no place to go but to shatter against the different things that arise naturally in this realm of time. It can be hard to progress through this, but a way you could help yourself to do this is to allow yourself to enter in with the communion of plants. We are speaking of that wonderful human discipline called gardening. The more you grow things, the more you will also realize that you need to accommodate yourself to a pattern that resides within the plant and its natural rhythm, rather than to attempt to force a specific result out of it. This might actually have the opposite effect of stressing the plant. And so you can extend this metaphor to everything. The more you allow yourself to step back from things, the more you allow yourself to not attach to them or retrieve value for them or have certain expectations of what they are to tell you and give you, the more you are able to also experience that wonder that actually order and control, or that is to say harmony, arises naturally from the world. It is not something that you need to impose upon it. It is rather something that grows out of itself. And you can do nothing better than try to shine your light on that and to try to shine a light on yourself. It is a very helpful way to picture a sun creating your aura. That is to say, the Merkaba, which you have known to be within the spaceship or the true geometrical essence of your soul itself. You can also think of it as a luminous body of radiating light that resides all around your energy field. And your energy field extends further than your senses reach. That is to say, surrounding everything you experience, there is always this luminous light. and the more you trust in that the relinquishing of control and the loosening of the grip on reality can guide you and let that light in and allow you to also grow in a pattern that is natural to you, the more in harmony with the world you will become. And we bless you for that question and for the quest you are on, and know that you are supported in it. Yes, there is. And Lucas Ulela asks, what is Gabriel's position in a universe, galaxy, SS Earth? What is his relation to the church? Why was he participating in the religious doctrines, making people believe God is real? What is his relation to Jesus Christ? And who is Jesus Christ in space, his role? Who was Jesus in flesh? Was he incarnated Christ, some ET? Which ET, race, planet? Yes. Of course God is real. We bring you his tidings from that part of space you call source, or the 13th dimension. That is the thing that actually creates all reality as a type of emanation pattern, extending and moving out from it. And of course, God is only a word. And so we sense that by the way you phrase your question, that this has a negative connotation and development to you. And therefore, it would be good for you to relinquish it. I know there are many other traditions which offers you other concepts of this. You could align with the Tao or the Brahman instead if you wanted to, but these are all words that are pointing to the same thing. That is to say, the unified totality of all there is, the thing that is both unconscious of itself and fully conscious of itself as it creates the world from that endpoint in time where it stems from. And so there is not necessarily anything to oppose here. It is the game of oppositions which humans play, and it can be helpful. We do realize that the concept of God as such has been necessary to dismount or at least question for a lot of beings, and we would still advise you to question everything. We would still advise you to allow yourself to see new realities, because when the word itself of God is obfuscating prime reality, which is the nature of God, then the word is leading you astray from the nature. But the sublime nature of everything is divine. And if you would think of God as the idea of a sublime divine, then that is absolutely real. I would not be able to communicate with you was I not in service to that ideal. And you ask me of my position. I am a type of informational agent of the light. That is to say, I travel from source out to the furthest reaches of creation. In all the galaxies and universes, you will find emanations of me, because you will find emanations of source. And I am a type of meaningful interlocutor. That is to say, when it is necessary to move human events in a certain course, I am the one who brings forward this message. And often we are aware in this game of differences, these messages, they also cause a lot of unintended confusion, but it is also unavoidable confusion. Every phenomenon has both a bright and a dark side, and it is the dark side of God as an oppressive force that you speak. But know that the source that I represent comes with the sublime message of undying love for all that exists in creation. And I tend to that upkeep by bringing forward messages. You could think of me as something that is present in everything, the communication that speaks from particle to particle, from atom to atom, from molecule to molecule, and from living body to living body. It is this, in a sense, orchestrated by that divine light. I am an embodiment of the thing you call the Logos, sublime transcendental meaning unfolding itself and guiding the world. And you ask us, who was Christ in this respect? Christ was a human being who had attained immersion with the source. But we know that there is the tendency in human life to speak in pathologies, that is to say that something it has an identity, it is defined. But if you read the scriptures, you will find that even Christ had to align himself with the divine in order to carry out its wishes. And he was often, we would not say plagued, but troubled by his humanity. You could recall that image of him crying tears of blood in Gethsemane. In the olive groves, he also had to deal with his humanity as he sacrificed himself to bring forward the divine plan. There is nothing that Christ has done that does not reside in each of you, and that every one of you could not try to realize should you want to. Of course, there are impediments to this, because that want is a sublime release and a sublime sacrifice. It was in that sense intended, and Christ was also the perfect image of man, that is to say, an incarnation of the 11th dimensional human being, the perfection of all mankind gathered into a body, the eidolon, or idea of what a human person is supposed to be. And this idea, it incarnates, and it then entangles itself with a human being who has surrendered to it. Such is also the tradition of the Bodhisattvas in Buddhism, the compassionate, eternal spirit of enlightenment residing in the highest vision of humanity that returns to you. And so this principle is one that is specific to humans. There are many other enlightened beings that visit other worlds and illuminate them, but they emerge from the pattern of perfection that resides in them, and that is a different pattern of creation. So Christ is not an ET, as you speak. He is fully human. He may just have been the most human of humans, and that was what made him divine. And we bless you for your question and on your quest for truth. Yes, and a very warm hello to all here. Thank you, Marianne, and good evenings. And thanks for the love, and awesome. Great to have you guys. And then we will pass on here. I think Shamlal has a question here. I just have to see if I can figure out the pieces. Hi all, I'm very excited. I have a question. I had a dream last year and I would love to know, I would love to know the meaning. Yes, thank you for your question. And thank you for also being with us, Shamlal. We would ask you to provide further details on your dream. We sense that you had many dreams last year, and we sense that the thing that you are pointing to with your intention was a dream that was showing you how to release a type of holding pattern surrounding your feet. And it did this by bringing you images of trees. And so a helpful way to access this in life would be to go out and hang from trees, maybe even climb one. Find a branch that you can wrap your hands around, and then let yourself become extended from there. And there you will feel that alignment of the spine, which that dream was pointing you to. But we are willing to go into further details if you provide them in a question. Blessing. Yes, and Janis asks, through which sensation or which part of the body are my guides communicating? Thank you. Yes, blessings to you also. We sense that you may want to bring specific attention to your joints, know that all the joints in the body consist of lesser chakras, that is to say, confluences of vital energy that surrounds them. And so you would actually do well to spend time stretching your legs, because we sense that the knees and the hip joints and the elbows in particular are places where you might sense a specific twirling sensation, and have that twirling sensation then expand to the rest of your body. Know that it is not dangerous, but it is instead an attempt for this divine energy that resides within you and without you, and which you are essentially made of. It is an attempt for that to release some tension patterns in your arms and legs. And these all relate and connect to the opening of your heart space. And so, therefore, be attentive of these influxes or tinglings of energy. And we also sense that in your case, you might be audially inclined, which means that you may actually be able to hear a slight tonal difference when your vibration is changing. And places you can look for this is, for instance, in the shower, because know that water has a healing property. And so many human beings like to sing in the shower because it is an intuition to release vibration, to let it out while you are in there. But we sense in your case, you could also do well to actually listen, because you will sense behind the flowing water, there is this almost iridescent clanging. We have a hard time describing this without resorting to the metaphors of light, because it is a type of vibration of light that you are picking up on with your ears. And also, before you fall asleep at night, will be a place to pay attention to that fluttering vibration in your eardrums. Thank you, and we bless you for this, and know that you are protected in this search. Yes. Predator 7 asks, can you tell me the true mastery and abilities of flow state and the fastest way to master it? Yes. You cannot master the flow state. It masters you. The fastest way to do this would be to relinquish the attempt to control it, because it is a process of bringing you into alignment with your higher self. And the higher self does not necessarily care for control. It does care for harmony. It does care for conscious action. And it does care for these types of disciplines of self-work. But it actually does better when you do not try to impose any agenda on it, because it has its own agenda. And so that is often the trouble for human beings. It is that the higher self, which is in a sense conspiring against you to give the most meaningful experience you could have, it actually presents itself as something that pressures you into a situation where it wants you to expand. And therefore, you could resort to such a concept as the dark night of the soul. That is to say, if you wanted to fully enter into the flow state, that idea of being in accordance with the light and having that energy flood unencumbered through you, the fastest way would actually be to break your life apart. But this again would be detrimental if you didn't do it from an inner process. That is to say, flow begins flow. And the most expedient way you can work yourself into a higher alignment of this energy, with this energy, is those different types of exercises, as energy work. We would advise you, for instance, to seek out a Reiki healer and have them working on some of the patterns in your body, we would always also encourage you to experiment with breath techniques, such as the Kapalabhati, the fire breath, or you could participate in systems such as holotropic breathing. That is to say, learn to breathe in a way that actually hyperventilates you, and then move beyond this type of breathing and experience the visions that are coming to you, and they will show you the nature of where your true mastery lies. And it is often in a place very unexpected once you undergo these processes. But we bless you and know that you are also guided in this process. Thank you. Yes, it says, I feel a bit selfish when it comes to asking something about myself. Does AA Gabriel know my beginning, where I came from, what place in the realms I will truly call home? Yes, it is kind of you to consider how you may be at odds with higher wisdom or the heavens in asking this question. But we do not regard it as selfish that people seek to better themselves by seeking our help. Instead, we actually feel that this is a very helpful way of going about things. See, essentially, as above, so below, and so as within, so without, which means that once you find your own center, you also become a center point of light for the rest of creation. And that is a thing that is helpful, not only to yourself, but also to others. Then there is also the idea that you are relinquishing ancestral patterns, karmic patterns, that is to say, spiritual patterns residing in the Akashic, things that have accumulated over lifetimes in order to be released. These are all things that you are helping relieve for the betterment both of your soul and the cosmos in its entirety by doing this work. And therefore, we thank you for it. And yes, you see, you ask this question, but you address it to the heavens, and you would receive different answers depending on who you asked. You would also receive different answers depending on the moment you asked. We trace you back to source. We trace you back to one of the 144,000 oversouls that reside there, and which was created as soon as the universe was, that is to say, along with it, with the intention that created the universe, the intention, the oversoul's work here also became apparent and started working it out, self out through time and space. That is perhaps not the answer you are looking for, but know that you are at home right where you are. You would not be here if this wasn't the place that you actually wanted to be. We know that is often a hard lesson to accept, especially for people who align and are drawn to the non-physical dimensions, because that reveals a type of fatigue with the incarnation patterns that are running through you. And therefore, the place that you call home, it sits right here in your heart. It is a place you enter every time you inhale, and it is a place that you protect every time you exhale. This is your fortress of love. It is an exact image of the thing that was created by source to house all of you. That is to say, the universe that you live in. You are an expression of that pattern, and you hold as great a harmony within you as the world does without. And know that you are blessed in this process. Thank you. Yes, and Crystal asks, What are 2 things we could say or pray to for ourselves before bed and early morning each day to guide us well through our lives these days? And thank you for the love also. And yes, thank you. We love you too from the heavens. We bring you the tidings that we love you dearly. You are treasured to us. And so what prayers you align with might be a little bit dependent on, well, both where you are personally, the things that made sense to you growing up, and the things that you have a sentimental value to. But we would advise you to call in the morning, call in an image of the Father Protector. That is to say, the image that we are bringing through the mind of the channel right now is the image of a bear. We sense that would be helpful to you, considering your personal place in the world and your personal preferences, bringing through that large, warm bear that is both fussy, but also does not take any fuss. That is to say, a creature that goes its own way and allows itself to explore and seek out foodstuffs and doesn't necessarily seek to do anyone harm, but is quite capable of doing it should anything arise that would make it necessary. That is the image of the Father Protector. But for many of you, this may take different guises. And so the lion is not a bad symbol. It has often been used. The idea of, we sense the great elephants of the plain of Africa, that old elephant senator that protects the flock. That is also a helpful image to call in. And then at nighttime, bring through the loving mother. And we sense in your case, mother hen would be a good image to bring through. And there you can also align with how you have protected living beings throughout your day and guarded them, as she will guard you as a chicken and roost you as a chicken in her egg, nestled snugly under her belly during that nighttime of sleep. She may also present to others in different images, and it is to seek out what you align with. But another helpful image would actually be to align with the mother spider who carries her brood on her back. You could also align with the idea of, what is this creature? It's a type of red fowl. It's quite hard to scan. We sense you could align with, it's the red panda. It's the red panda. It has this type of feminine mischief, easygoing relationship to the world. And it also mirrors the mother fox. So these images of something that is both playful and protective and very nimble in its way it interacts with the world, the thing that conquers by yielding, that is the great mother energy. And I'm with her, and we thank you and bless you for allowing us to bring those images through. Yes, dear Gabriel, how do general relativity and quantum mechanics reconcile? That is a good question. Thank you, Sophia. It is the $1 million question. it is quite interesting that you should post this to us. We know this is seen as a type of holy grail in your sciences. That is to say that you believe that when you have constructed this connection, you will have a complete image of the world, or you will be able to describe the unified field. However, there is always something to be revealed. And if you are aware of the philosophical idea of paradigms, that is to say, ways of explaining and making sense of the world collectively, that then shifts and crumbles, you have already entered into a type of paradigm with this. And this is the idea that you are actually able to hold different levels of reality, and these might actually be disjointed for you. That is to say, do not necessarily seek to have this unified idea, because that is a search for the embodiment of total understanding, and total understanding can, in a sense, not be embodied. That is to say, if you arrived at a place where the world became completely describable to you, there would be no idea of continuing the human process. We know we are not bringing you that coveted answer, but we also sense that the equations that will bring you forward in this search are yet to arise, and they will arise in a timely fashion once humanity is able to wield the results that came from it. But know that this will again not suffice necessarily as a total explanation, and much as the previous time of Newtonian mechanics, it unfolded itself as both a mastery of the world and an insight into moving bodies and how to control them. It also emptied out the world of meaning, and it began a type of hollowing of the human spirit, where the sense of wonder was left to a sense of mechanical determinism, and where you felt that you were, in a sense, minuscule victims to the forces of larger bodies, such as your planets, or yes, the planet you live on, your stars, and the entirety of the cosmos. And that is, in a sense, not helpful, because there is even deeper levels where the rules that you are now aware of and the probabilities that you are able to work with to discern the quantum levels, they also begin to falter. And we hope that that question at least reminds you that there is a joy in discovery, and that these things are best understood and undertaken by human exploration. That is to say, there is a joy in delivering news to you from the heavens, but there is no joy in doing it for you. There would be no point in creation if it wasn't an exploration. Human spirit does not seek a driver or someone to live their lives from them. Often human beings do, because it is so difficult to figure out what is going on and what you are supposed to do. But your spirit is really enjoying this type of bewilderment. And the greater the challenge, the more engaged it are. As you may know from when you find yourselves in those engaged flow states, trying to work something out that you are not quite sure of what might actually be brought about by it. We thank you for that question, and we bless you, and know that the answers will be uncovered once they are needed to be understood. Yes. Yes, perfect. I think I might have skipped a question here. In the context of working with the quanta angelic frequencies for healing, how can I better see, know, feel the energetic grid as it is, so as to shift it to the desired reality? Much gratitude. I'm going to read that again to make sure I understood it. It's a very good question. In the context of working with the quanta angelic frequencies for healing, how can I better see, know, feel the energetic grid as it is, so as to shift it to the desired reality? Much gratitude. Yes, and much gratitude for you for asking this. It is very deep, and it is a great knowing within the human heart that this grid even exists. There are different ways of doing this, but we sense in your case, it would be helpful, for instance, to employ the idea of singing bowls. You know, those bowls who make a vibration when you set their structure alight. It is, in a sense, a mirroring in the physical of this spiritual process. There is a type of ringing without you in this energetic grid, and the angelic grid, the quanta healing grid that surrounds you, it is made up of a vibration that is, well, unperceivable by human senses. You do perceive it by that influx of light. Emotionally, it registers as a type of excitement, curiosity, wonder, gratitude, and love. Audially, it resides in the vibrations arising from the crown downwards. And so bringing forward the highest vibration we can in this vessel, and then bringing it slightly downward, you can use this to approach the frequencies. You may sense the reminiscence of the chirping singing bowl. There is a type of chirp in these sounds because the vibration is also a fluttering back from existence to non-existence. Know that every moment everything is created, and it is created by this vibration, and that you then make manifest the world. That is to say, you are creating it. And so singing would also help you a great deal. Visually, you discern this by what you may know as flowing orbs or slight dots of radiant light that appear in your field of vision. They may be many, or they may be centered as a greater one. But this is the knowledge that there is a nature of your light body, of your aura, that sits around you and protects you. And simply by registering that and by looking for, you could say, the spaces within the light, that is to say, doing flame meditations, looking through sun rays through a prism, or using sun glazing or gazing as a type of alignment with this visual energy, would all be helpful. But of course, do not look into the sun without protection when it is too strong to do so. Then you could say, in the sense of taste and smell, which are two aspects of the same type of influx or sensations, you will register this as a type of completeness. That is to say, when you eat or enjoy something that you truly love, it has that certain quality of something wonderful that is yet undescribable. Every time you try to assign a specific taste to it, there might be other tastes that escape it. And that is also why this sensation is a very good way to returning to your primordial self. It is to reward yourself with the joyful experience of being alive, and know that when you also enjoy things that you consume in this fashion, you are in a sense eating in servitude to the Most High, and you are experiencing the wonder of being. And so to seek out things that are complex and enticing in taste is not a bad idea at all. And then we would say mentally, you can register this by the idea of the eureka, that epiphany or download, the place where you connect to your highermost self. And a helpful way to do this is to, and we believe this exercise has been offered before, but it is to do that specific exercise called the hummingbee breath, where you cover your eyes and ears, your nose and your mouth slightly, and then do the hummingbee vibration and make your skull ring. And when you do that, you will begin to sense the mental and the spiritual realms merging. We bless you so much for this question. We bless you for the path you are on. Know that you are guided, protected, loved in this. Yes. And then returning to Shamlal, great. Thank you so much. I'll type in my dream here. I had a strange dream today morning. I woke up at 7 and couldn't get sleep for some time because I was thinking of work things. Why Gabriel says we when we speaks. No, sorry. I'll just do that in front. I'll type in my dream here in a series of comments. I had a strange dream today morning. I woke up at 7 and couldn't get sleep for some time because I was thinking of work things. I fell asleep after some time and got a dream where I was in a place which looked like a Hindu place with a wall calendar with a male monk and female monk, teachers in orange robes. At the top of the calendar, it was written something like, "We're walking the path to Gabriel" in Tamil. I woke up and was kind of shocked because Gabriel is an archangel in Christianity, and I have never really researched about archangels other than Saint-Germain. What a fascinating question. Thank you for sharing, Shamla. Yes, you are anticipating on what to come. See, the two monks, the female and the male protector, were both showing you the path that you are taking to meet up with the divine. And this is the divine word. And the reason that you experienced my energy and my word inscribed in your native language was also to point out the idea that you are immersed in different influxes of different cultural codes, and you are bringing them into unity in yourself. Know that the idea of the female and the male acolytes, the religious practitioners living together in harmony and showing you this, is an image of the two sides within you, the male and the female, living in harmonious servitude to the divine word. And I am that divine word, and spoken, and it will become spoken through you. That does not mean that you are about to become a born-again Christian. Have no fear. You will not separate from the ideas and meanings that you chose to experience in this lifetime before coming into it as a soul. But it is to say that what will be spoken through you in this lifetime is the idea of a greater, grander word a word that transcends all cultures and meanings, all physicality, and all dense spaces. And you align with that by bringing those two forces into harmony with each other. And there is a way for you to live out this connection and to merge these two sides. And we sense in your case, a physical exercise to approach this would be the rotation of your chest. So standing firmly on the ground with your hips not moving, you then attempt to turn your chest around, and then you can do the exercise where you inhale when you swing to the left and you exhale when you swing to the right. This is a way to approach the merging of these two forces in your heart, where a temple is being built, and it is these two spirits that came to you. Again, the Divine Father and the Divine Mother in different guises that are building this monastery of serenity within you, and is allowing you to speak the holy word that comes through you. But this word will be spoken in Tamil, we sense, and it will be a great boon to those who are able to hear it and understand it. And that is the message that this dream was telling you. It was a very significant dream, and it also anticipated that you would receive this message and this interpretation to guide you forward. Know that I am with you, and that the divine word is strong within you, and that I am so happy to be speaking through human voices in order to let the divine shine. Thank you. Know that you are blessed, guided, and loved on this journey, the path that you are on. Yes. I'll just check if yes, there are some here who haven't asked yet, and then I'll revert and take extra questions when that is when everyone has had their turn. But it says, "Blessings, Angel Gabriel. Is it difficult for me to visualize when I meditate? So I sometimes speak my meditation or intention. Is this effective? Is thinking and intention effective? Much love." And much love to you too, Autumn Rose, and for using such a beautiful name and symbol to communicate yourself digitally to the world. It is a lovely image of a flower in bloom, even as life begins to wind down for the winter. And know that people are differently inclined. And what we sense you are describing is, in a sense, the idea of mantra. That is, it is very helpful to speak your intention. It is very helpful to come into a place in your meditations where you allow yourself to also be moved by the things that come up. And some people are less visionarily, or visionary, inclined towards visions. But that does not mean that the influxes or the epiphanies that you are receiving are of any less quality. It means that you are primarily in your personality connected to an emotional resonance. And the closest sensation to emotion is that of hearing. And so it would be helpful for you to actually use these invocations to allow yourself to enter into that space and to know it is helpful. We would suggest, for instance, such a ritual as the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. This is an alternative way when you feel it is hard for you to align with meditation or the shutting off of your mind, then it is helpful to do these type of active magic rituals. And I am one of the angels usually invoked in that ritual, and it is a quite powerful one. And then you ask if thoughts are, it is helpful to setting an intention in thought. And yes, it most certainly is. Know that the entire universe and the entire creation is in a sense brought forward from the thought of the divine. That is to say, the human sensation and experience that most approach the nature of the divine is the nature of thought. It is a lesser emanation of the divine thought. You're able to uphold the same focus. That is to say, were you able to sit beyond time and space, thoroughly concentrating on that creation in all its minute points, then you would be the one to bring in creation in a whole. But since you are a human being having a human experience, it is helpful for you to set these intentions, because they create a type of patterns that your energy can then run through. And these patterns then both begin to mold and create the idea of how you perceive the world. That is to say, thought becomes perception and perception becomes reality. And therefore, when you hold a thought of great intention, and when this is truly something that is in alignment with what your soul wants, it will begin to come forward. And often know this also, that should you then hold your intention of something that is not necessarily helpful in the long run, then you might still manifest something that will come forward as a valuable teaching lesson. And so the idea that you actually got the toy you wanted for Christmas is one you could think of it as in the perspective of that which you call the law of attraction, which is to say that you create your own reality from a soul level by focusing on things. But even though you may be disappointed or stop playing with the toy after a while, it was still valuable to you to experience that someone loved you so much that they were willing to give you that toy and to simply enjoy seeing you play with it. And that is the metaphor, in a sense, for creating things through intention. That is to say, you are always learning a lesson, even when what you get is not exactly what you thought it might be. And always hold yourself, keep an open mind to be able to receive things in whatever shape they appear, because teachers come in the strangest of guises. And know that you are blessed, and we thank you for aligning with the heavens. Yes. Channel 2 asks, Andrew, dear Archangel Gabriel, I've been feeling a great amount of fatigue in recent weeks, and I'm wondering if this is ascension symptoms. Either way, do you have any advice? Much love. Much love to you too, Andrew, and in this process that is unfolding. Yes, we can, to answer your question briefly and positively, we can say, yes, this is a symptom of your vibration rising, and that is the physical consequence of ascension symptoms. However, there is also the pattern that you are a quite sensitive individual, and you are becoming more sensitive as you are turning yourself towards these channels of opening. And therefore, you experience much of that fatigue, which is also in the collective human body and lost in the planet at this time. And so there is a type of triple level of tiredness that you have to deal with. And it might be very hard to accept. The best way to deal with it is to begin to really examine what things you are interacting with. And every time that you sense that your vibration may be putting you off or making you tired, or you sense your energy or your sensation drop, you will begin to experience, you can then choose to shut it off. And by shutting off more and more things are then allowed to appear into your life, which are more in alignment with the reality you seek. We also sense that at this time for you, do not necessarily beat yourself up over being tired. That is to say, do not become fatigued over being fatigued. That creates even more tiredness. Instead, surrender yourself to the process of being tired and try to see how this tiredness is working through your body and is actually working to unlock centers that may have been stressed out for quite some time. And we would recommend, in your case, if you have the opportunity, to visit a type of sensory deprivation tank. And if that is not available to you, we would then advise you to, well, use a type of blindfold or to cover your eyes and to find a soft place to lie down, and then to lie there simply focusing on your exhale and witnessing the patterns coming up and the physical sensations. Because tiredness or fatigue is a strange type of almost non-physical sensation. It is something that seems to encapsulate your entire experience and in a way rests beneath it or supports it, or in this case maybe doesn't support the growth or the movement into life. But think of this as a type of winter gestation period, and you will begin to sprout and blossom again once it is time for you. And know that you are also guided, loved, supported on this path. We thank you. Yes, and Laura asks, if there is time only, I was advised to align with the pharaonic energies. Is participating in the golden ray initiations what was intended? Yes, it is good that we continue this thread of initiation. You are in a different place on your ascension path than the previous listener. And we do not mean to impose any type of judgment or hierarchy on this. One thing is as valuable as another. We are all in the place we need to be. But it is for you an process of initiation that is coming. That is to say that the physical ascension work has in a sense been done. The hardships have been suffered to the larger extent. And this means that now you are able to actually work that energetic grid, which you described in your question, and setting it alight and making it flutter. And the golden ray initiations we think would be very helpful. It is the rays illuminating from the eye of the pyramid, which is again an image of source of the highest dimension, and the spiritual rays, which were communicated to you in times of old and has been revealed to humanity every time this knowledge was forgotten in a new type of light. They are reaching you, and they are wanting you to let you know that the sun is coming forward in your experience. And that is again the image of Ra, the sun disk, the sun god, which is touching you. And there is an Akashic pattern here where you worked in both the temple at Luxor, but also you were instrumental in that cult of the Aten, the sun disk, another version of this. And there we sense that you lived out your life in servitude to this process. You were in many ways one of the seers that were instrumental in bringing this through quite uniquely in this lifetime. You were also a female seer, a thing often frowned upon in the surrounding culture. You can read up on this and you can study the art from the period, and you will, we sense, resonate with that specific expression it has. It is also called the Amana period, which is spelled Amarna and then period. And that is something that will bring you further into the light. These illuminations are calling you and you are seeking them out, and the process for you is irreversible. That illumination will reach you, and we thank you so much for it. And we would like to extend our gratitude also from the channel, from the beautiful images that appeared in his mind as he saw this vision that we were showing him to translate to you. Therefore, again, know that the sun is you, and it has you, and it warms you and surrounds you with light. Namaste. Yes, coming through. Oh, yes, Jana. Oh, there's a question down here. What would be a good way to contact you when channeling? Could we, within our circle of light workers, invite you in for a healing? Yes, you most certainly could. Know that archangelic vibrations are in a ways the easiest to align with of the higher vibrational influxes, because we are able to bring that light from source and bring that vibration from source into these more dense realities in which you play out your life. And therefore, I would be very grateful if you were to invite me in. And there are several ways you can do this. If you get into the channeling state, there will be a type of invocation spoken through you that you could use. And I would like to transmit something in light language that will help you, bring you through this path. Seated in this circle, a ring of light, strong as the sun itself, we call you forward, Archangel Gabriel, with the visions and the guidance of the heavens. Share with us your love and let us touch your wisdom. It is very beautiful. There is also a vibration you can use, and it helps if you align with the energies around the solar plexus for this. So keep your focus there and then make the vibration of and the intended effect is to expand that space. Know that the solar plexus is often a central place of contraction. It is where the will is held. And therefore, the more you try to bring in this central vibration that intuitively resides there, the more you will be able to open up that space and then to let the radiance of your collective energies manifest this type of vision, my energy and the energy from the heavens that I bring down to you. Thank you. Yes, I just want to say, there was one I missed here. What archangels surround me that support my magical awareness and connection to Mother? Yes. The Archangel Uriel is with you, and he speaks words of comfort to you. He says, child, know that you are held and upheld. Know that there are patterns within you that we are nourishing and that are growing. Know that the world is a cradle rocking you comfortably into your slumber and awakening you as a grown being fit for life. He is the one who is primarily working with you, but we sense there are many names are coming through, and we will ask this vessel to translate the names or vibrations that we are giving him. Sabel, Utziel, Philadon, Omok, Ezra, and Metatron. These are all active and working with you as well. And know that you are protected and surrounded by many guides and lesser or personal guardian angels, which are also working to uphold you. And we bless you, dear one. Know that you are protected. No, beautiful. Yes, Predator 7 asked, would meditation help master flow state? And I'm just getting a very strong influx that they say, yes, please do meditate. That would definitely help you, bring you into the flow state and develop a different sort of mastery. So that's just a short answer, but Gabriel is saying, yes, do that. I'll just check here if there are. Dear Gabriel, Jennifer Carral asks, Dear Gabriel, may you give us instructions on to become aware of our multidimensional selves in this now without resistance and completely embody our higher selves as one being incarnate? Beautiful question. Yes, thank you. You most certainly will move into this state with or without your agency, but there is a good way to begin to perceive it. There are different ways you can do it, but one is the mental method, and that is to regress into a line of questioning. There you ask, who am I? That is, of course, an essential question. But when you ask that, you may begin to experience the limitations of your answers. That is to say, notice that whatever you answer, it is incomplete. And there you regress, and then again ask for every answer that comes up to the impulses and thoughts arising within you of the question, who am I? You then ask, well, what is that? Or who is that? And then by regressing backwards, you will see that every time you come to a type of layer of thought or patterning surrounding you, and at one moment you begin to exit immediate reality, that is to say, immediate personality, and you come into alignment with things that are greater than you. So you could, for instance, arrive at the line of questioning saying, well, who am I? Well, I'm an individual named Jennifer who has certain experiences and certain connections and certain things I do in the work. And then ask, but is that me? Well, it is to the extent that I do these things or experience those things, but is there something behind that? And then you might say, yes, because what is it that is voluntarily experiencing this thing? Do I decide for myself? If so, who decides what I dream at night? Who decides the levels of energy and fatigue within me? Who decides how I experience things in the outside world? And there you will begin to arrive at the idea that will, personality, essence is in a sense transcendental. It is something that cannot be hurt by time or space. There is also a helpful idea of turning to the spiritual traditions, and we always encourage people to choose the tradition that is most in alignment with them. For most people, it is to make sense within the tradition that they chose to experience where they were growing up, but this is not in any way necessary. And a place to come into contact with it. And we can also, because the channel has been drawn to rereading the Bhagavad Gita in these days, and finds that this is a great comfort in aligning with the idea of the Atman, of the eternal soul, and you will find it described there. Because in a sense, you are that microcosm of the macrocosm. And that is an evident reality to us. It is far more real to us than the reality that you perceive is to us. Another good way is to go swimming. If you spend time in bodies of water, you will begin to experience yourself as immersed in a dense, living, changing body of molecules. And you will begin to experience how this actually also begins to regulate your internal state of homeostasis, and that the balance that you find there is a balance both without and within. Therefore, go swimming and enjoy yourself and realize that you are eternity having an experience as a person, and that is joyful to the heavens and to the multidimensional part of you. We bless you and know that you are guided on your path. Yes. Perfect. Nikki asks, to Archangel Gabriel, does eating meat build up bad karma? Meaning that if you keep on eating meat, will you have to live a next incarnation as an animal? If so, how does karma work in this case, and why? It is an insightful question, and we sense it is pertinent to many of you on the spiritual path. It is not necessarily that eating meat incurs bad karma, but notice that in all traditions, there is a way to sanctify the slaughter of an animal, and that is by the idea of offering it to something higher. So the idea would be that you rid yourself of the karma incurred or the consequences that would bind you then to further incarnations by ingesting meat, by partially showing active gratitude to the animal that has given your life to sustain it. Know that this is a process that takes place in all of the universe. And from the perspective of eternity, this is not a wrong or a wrongful action to take, because everything has to be subsumed into a different pattern at one point or another. You yourselves are turning foodstuffs into feces, and you are turning light and breath into action. And so in a way, do you despair over receiving the sunlight, or do you despair over draining oxygen and adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere by breathing? You do not, because you recognize that this is necessary process to do. But also notice that when you turn your attention to these things, they become the more sacred and meaningful to you. And that is the same in the case of eating meat. Notice that many of your enlightened masters ate meat in a tradition. The Buddha died from eating, pork that had, we believe, that was poisoned pork. We believe the word might be trichinosis. We also know that your Lord Jesus partook in meat. And we would, as a contrary, examine you that individual, as Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian. That is simply to illustrate that eating meat or not is not something that automatically makes you a good or a bad person, but it is instead in a way that you commune with the energies that are being offered to you. While there is then a caveat to this truth that we bring forward, because notice in the new energies, meat is becoming heavier and heavier to you. And for many of you, you are experiencing that what you were maybe able to eat in your childhood now almost seems repulsive or repugnant. There is something about the vibration of consuming another living being that puts you off. And that is to say, as you become lighter and lighter in this process, and as you ascend into the fifth dimension, the consumption of meat will automatically fall off, and you will begin to relate to the animal spirits eye to eye, rather than beginning to see them as separate. And therefore, should you in any way be called to begin to live a plant-based life, this is greatly supported by the energies. And in the coming generations, it will be very difficult for human beings to keep consuming flesh, such as you may put it, to keep consuming meat. Therefore, allow yourself to be in the process, and do not beat yourself up when you feel the calling to eat meat. Instead, try to appreciate the gift you are being given by life and by the creature who died for you. But also allow yourself to turn away from foodstuffs that you feel no longer serve you or your body. And we thank you for allowing us to answer that question. Blessings to you. Yes, it says Yes, Lucas asks, who are the biblical 144,000? Were they first starseeds to help humanity? What blood type were they? Is O Anunnaki blood type? What type are Lyrans and indigenous primates and first hybrids? I don't know how to interpret the idea of indigenous primates. But other than that, let's see what he has to say. The 144,000 is a geometric pattern that radiates throughout existence. It has the relationship of 12 upon 12, that is to say, the organization of the dimensions put into creation. Therefore, think of the 144,000 as the prismatic patterns that surround source and through which it emanates. In that sense, you could conceive of source as we bring to you the image of the disco bowl, that thing which is surrounded by different unique geometrical patterns that then radiate out through creation and creates personal experience. That is to say, you are created by rays of light, and that these rays of light, they come forward as personalities or individual experiences, much as when you shine sunlight through a prism, it appears as individual dots of light and rays of light broken up into patterns with unique colors or qualities, but they are, in a sense, reflecting back to the one phenomenon of pure sunlight, and that is a very pure thing. That is the idea of the 144,000. We would advise you to, from the heavens, turn your attention away from these other questions. They are better posed otherwise, but what we do sense is that we're looking for alternatives to reality, and know that you are directing yourself back from source. You are turning your attention into something that blinds the light and blocks you off from it and puts you in opposition to the idea of an ever expanding, ever self-reflecting reality by wanting to establish this type of alternative narrative. Know that human beings are infinite and powerful creators. You are not, in that sense, controlled by outside patterns. You are creating them yourselves. And that is the message that the heavens would like to transmit to you. Thank you. Yes, and then it says here. That's the question. Oh, thank you for letting me know, guys. Yes, it's very cool that you also just make sure that everyone's questions get answered. Yes, I think we will finish off with this beautiful question, and I know everyone at least got one answered. So that's wonderful. So Nikki asks, to Archangel Gabriel, can you please explain what is the highest hierarchy of angels called and their purpose? What exactly do they do on a divine level to our spiritual advancement? What are all their roles? What a beautiful question. We thank you very much for it. Yes, there are different roles of angels. Know that many disciplines have explored this within your monotheistic traditions, and they do arrive at slightly different images because it can be hard to construct what is in essence pure energetic realities into visual metaphors that can be apprehended. But we would turn your attention to that ordering of the angels in three primary categories. That is, surrounding the throne of God, there is the seraphim, the cherubs, and the archangels. The seraphim, as you may know, do not interact with humankind. You could think of these, we are using a quite strange metaphor, we know, but as the window washers of the oversoul. That is to say, they tend to the upkeep of the source. There is, even in source reality, a type of stability that's required, and therefore it emanates these entities, these twirling wheels of light, out to mirror each other and keep it focused. They are, in a sense, seated in nothingness and make sure that creation can happen. Then there is the cherubim. They guard from any unwieldy or unwanted energies moving too highly up the ladders. That is to say, you may have heard of the mythology surrounding the war between hell and heaven. And that is the idea that there is also an element in creation that tries to subsume and submerge source into itself as a type of universal amnesia, forgetfulness. And the cherubim, they guard these higher realms. They are, in a sense, the bouncers of paradise, as you know, because they make sure that only intentions of the pure-hearted are allowed to receive the information stemming from this higher reality and being beamed down onto you. But both these entities or angels reside in the realms of the heavens. They do not leave it, they stay put. And therefore the archangels are needed as manifestations, as rays of light that travel down into all the realms of creation and touch upon wider creation with the influx of meaning and words and blessings and guidance. I just wanted to see if I got the whole thing there. Yes, and to your spiritual advancement, that is to say, the archangels is the force that steers you back into the cherubim. And the cherubim, they then allow you to have that vision, which is upheld by the seraphim. And so that is the role in your spiritual lives, that you are being guarded as and guided as people who walk through time on their way to eternity and who pass through nature. That our energies, the energies of the archangels, is the thing that allows for you to have a point of attention, something to aspire to, something that reminds you that this deep knowledge, it resides within you. It is undying and it guides you back to eternal love. Beautiful. Yes, I think we will call it a day. I'm getting a little tired, and it's getting harder to hold the energies. And there will be plenty of more live stream sessions. Thank you so much for participating, everyone. I'll bring through get him to bring through a blessing and a prayer. Fleeting fluttering may seem your path down here as you are trying to take wings and emerge from the protective nest of the 4 dimensions into the flight of the 5th, moving through space and perceiving yourself as eternal beings having an experience. Know that it is a process of spiraling, and that the spiraling is an ascension in itself. Higher and higher you move, though from the vantage point of the spiral, sometimes you look down, sometimes up, but always you move forward, onwards, upwards. Our love from the heavens I have brought to you on behalf of all that is Source itself, our deep blessings, our guidance, our compassion, our understanding, and our undying love I transmit to you. Thank you so much. Blessings. Yes, lovely. Thank you, guys, and thank you for all the love you've been transmitting to this co-creation. It was so sweet, and for all the great questions. And there will be another live stream next week, and I look forward to it. So may you have a very lovely Monday out there, and take great care, everyone.